Good evening. You are tuned in to the Zone Blitz, the weekly webcast produced by NFL Female. I am Sharona, the official Titans fan reporter for NFL Female. You can follow me, by the way, on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. I am joined, as always, with my co-host, Sonia, and I'm going to bring her in and let her introduce herself, and then bring in our fabulous guest that I'm very excited to be talking to tonight. Sonia, my girl, what's up with you?
Not much. What's going on, my Sharona? Hi, everybody. I'm Sonia. I am the NFL Female official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions. And you can follow me on Twitter at mom2, the number 2, the number 3, RN. And I'm just happy to be here talking about some football again. Can't wait to hear about everybody's updates. So yeah, it's just always a great time to talk some football. So I will kick it over to Gwen, who is our NFL Female Ravens reporter. So hi, Gwen. How are you? Thanks for joining us again tonight.
I'm good. I'm good. So what do you want to hear about? There's lots going on with the Ravens.
Well, first
I know what I want to hear about. I want to get an update on my guy, C.J. Mosley.
C.J. Mosley can't do any wrong here. Everybody loves him.
I know.
There is no doubt that he's starting, and he has that position, and he's a hard worker, and that's that. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubts about him at all. So you really can't say much more than that.
So which he's going to play inside linebacker there, right?
He's a Ray spot. Yep.
Okay, he's taking Ray spots. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, he's fantastically talented. You know, there were some injury concerns about him, but it sounds like he's doing great.
Yeah, we have enough injury concerns on the Ravens besides him, so.
Oh, yeah? Well, give us a quick update. What's going on injury-wise with the Ravens?
Saturday night, we have already the cornerback situation is an issue because we have Lardarius Webb with the back injury. Asa Jackson had a ankle injury that he should be okay from. But the scariest one was Jimmy Smith when he went up and I think he tried to intercept a pass. I don't know who from. And he came down right on his back.
Ouch.
And immediately started coughing up blood onto the field.
Oh, no.
That's so scary.
And they showed it on TV, and he just kept coughing it up.
Those are so hard to watch.
Yeah, so he went back, and they said he just has a bruise. But from where I come from, lung contusions, I don't know if you should be playing football on Saturday like they say they're going to. So we'll see. Because it was nasty. So it's getting sick right there.
Yeah, that is rough. So who's going? I guess this gives some younger guys an opportunity, maybe to step in and try to show their stuff, huh?
Well, we have Shockey Brown, who is fighting, I think, with Asa for the spot. So Asa was out, so it was Shockey, and then we have Dominique Franks, who didn't really make much of an impact. He's made maybe one or two, but it wasn't really a huge impact on the night. Who else? Ray Rice went down. I think because he put his shoulder down and he was trying to block going through, and then he hurt his shoulder, and they took him back, but then he was right back on the practice field the next day. I think that was it for the injury update.
So let me ask you about the secondary. Now, it doesn't sound like any of these injuries are terribly serious. They might not play in preseason, but do you think that those guys are going to be back for the regular season?
They say that Lardarius is going to be back the first game. He's not going to play any preseason at all.
Okay.
I think they're saying Jimmy's coming back on Saturday night. We'll see. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that injury.
Yeah. Okay.
It's your lungs.
Yeah, right.
You kind of need those, just a little bit to breathe or something.
A little bit. I mean, you're a nurse, right?
Yeah. Hate to see these injuries in the injuries are bad anyway, but you especially hate them in the preseason because guys are they're just getting back into it, and they're trying to get acclimated, and the regular season's coming up, and you're like, It's just a tough break. So sorry to hear that, but hopefully not too serious. It doesn't sound like it. We'll keep our fingers crossed and say a little prayer for Jimmy Smith. Hopefully he will be okay. It does sound like, though, Bernard Pierce is doing pretty well.
Yes, Bernard Pierce really did well. They both, I guess, were splitting the duties.
Mm-hmm.
And once Ray went back, it was all Bernard. And so he's been kind of plagued with injuries, but I think he's the healthiest he has been.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I think there's kind of a spot that is going to be fought for between Lorenzo Talafiero and Justin Forsett. And I personally like Justin Forsett. So
I love Justin Forsett, by the way. I love him. He's just such a great guy.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting with the first 2 weeks with Ray out and how all that plays out.
All right, well, I got to ask you. Steve Smith seems to be adopting the Ravens way, very much taking it to heart.
Yes.
And I love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. How much do they love him in Baltimore, and how much do the other Ravens love him?
They're having so much fun with him. And he's good to the media. The media loves him. It's not all that cocky stuff. Like, he embraced the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
He did.
And he told, what was Aqib Talib that he told Ice Up Son, and he challenged him.
I know. I love him so much. He's so great.
So, it's a close thing since they have O.J. Brigance that is still part of the Ravens organization and has his own office still at the castle. So that was hysterical, and you gotta love him for that.
Yeah. Well, that's great stuff, Gwen. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Ravens. We're not going to let you off the hook yet. We're going to talk some more Ravens. But I want to get Sonia in here and let her give us a Detroit Lions update. Speaking of secondaries, Sonia, what's going on with your secondary?
That's a really good question. I haven't really, I've heard a little bit. I know we released a cornerback, Drayton Fulton. I want to say that we released him today. I got an email stating that fact. And Darius Slay has been improved. He's had some improved play. So that in and of itself makes me feel much better, because I think he was coming on last year. Like I've said this tons of times, he's been coming on since last year, but then he got that knee injury, and so that really kind of derailed him. So I'm kind of excited about that. Linebacking, okay, no, it's not the secondary, but like their linebacking core and stuff like that. I don't know. I think, I don't know. Stephen Tulloch is doing a good job, so I'm impressed there.
Former Titan Stephen Tulloch.
That's right, former Titan Stephen Tulloch. Can you come on the show anytime you want? And then
he should come on the show. We definitely need to try to get him on the show.
Yes, we need to get him on. And the one person who I really got to read some more about in the preseason and see what's been going on and watch some more, just rewatch some of the games and stuff, has been Kyle Van Noy. He was our second-round draft pick out of BYU. And he had a pretty decent game against the Raiders, but I do kind of want to see a little bit more and see where he's going to come into play here. I think the other big thing that we're talking about, since we're going defense, I'm just working my way forward.
Yeah, we got to talk about that Nick guy.
Yeah, that Nick guy. He's kind of hurting everybody's heart here.
Right?
He is, because we drafted him with such high expectations, but he just has been a bump on a log. I hate to say it, but he's been a bump on a log. He hasn't really performed like he needs to. We didn't we didn't give him the option, so he's going to be a free agent possibly at the end of next year. And,
that didn't seem to motivate him.
I was about to say, it hopes to motivate him, but that didn't do anything.
It didn't
happen. He came back. It did nothing. He came back to OTAs. Everybody's like, oh, look, that must have done something. Coach must have talked to him. He's slimmed down. He's great. And then you see him, in the preseason game on Saturday, and he looks a hot mess. But I don't know. And then, it comes there. Once again, I've heard possibly using him as trade bait, but I don't know. I don't see that happening. And then everybody's favorite, my guy, Mr. Sue. He's actually doing okay. Kind of kept it low key, and actually, not too much really has been made or said about, his whole situation, at least not right now anyways. It's more so Fairley is kind of taking the show, stealing Sue's show on that one. But
I'm sure Sue's like, you go, dude.
Exactly.
I'm gonna just out here
doing my thing. He probably just been taking Fairley to like McDonald's and stuff. Goodness. But so those have at least been our defensive changes. And then on our offense, Calvin is going to make his return.
I saw that.
Or his first start of the preseason. He's coming up this Friday, I think, against Jacksonville. So that'll be really, really good. Just to get him out there. I don't expect him to stay in the game for a long period of time, although everybody's saying he's going to be in there for like 3 quarters or something like that. But we'll see. So it's going to be nice to get him back out there, get him game ready, and just see how the offense clicks with like pretty much everybody on the field. And if it works as well as, it pretty much did on Saturday, this is going to be a great show to watch. This is going to be lots of fun.
So give us an update real quick on Matt Stafford. I saw an article about him. It sounds like the heat's a little bit on, and it should be after last season.
The heat is on. Pressure's on. Like I said, like I've been saying, we've gotten this offensive-minded coach. We've gotten, a new offensive coordinator really to kind of step in and help him out and be like, dude, come on. You got to bring us along. You got to pick it up a little bit this year. And, getting Golden Tate, getting all these weapons, I think, is going to help him and really not give him any more excuses. Because if this year, if we're not at least in the playoff mix in like weeks 14 and 15, it's not going to be pretty around here. I'm pretty sure. And Stafford is going to, it's going to be very uncomfortable for him. Also, after watching some of our backups play in the preseason games, they're not the greatest either. So we'll know a lot more about
who's going to be the number 2 quarterback.
Everybody's been talking about Kellen Moore, and I think that's going to be our backup. I think that's going to be our number 2. But, we did lose Sean Hill to the Rams, which I'm really sad that we did because I really like Sean Hill. He stepped in, and he did a really good job.
He did. He
did. But
yeah,
he really did. And Kellen Moore is not that type. But, so, if Stafford, God forbid, if he goes down, we're going to be in a world of hurt. It's just not going to be fun.
I want to get Greg in. I can tell he wants to weigh in on the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to get him to weigh in on some Ravens talk. Greg, what are your thoughts on what the Lions are doing? And I know you want to talk about Nick Fairley. I can see it in your eyes.
Go right
I was going to
ahead,
say with Fairley, maybe it's I think not giving him the extension probably ended up being it definitely was a kind of a reverse psychology. It didn't quite work the way you expected. And it might be a case where you may be looking at where a change of scenery might be the best for him. If you could, I would think that if you can work a trade and maybe get
maybe it was the right move, Greg. The opposite to that is if he doesn't, since he's not stepping up, it's the right move because what if they had given him all that money and
might have stepped
still sucking it up?
But there's still some guys who will get, if you pay them, they will step up. But if you don't pay them, they feel like that, the worth is not there, that you don't value them. Because
Look,
you did not.
having lived through the Albert Hainsworth thing, I know both sides of that.
I totally agree. I'm not saying the court was wrong for giving in to him.
And I'm not hating on Big Al. Big Al's got a hamburger joint up in Knoxville. He's doing all right.
With $100 million, he should have more than a hamburger joint.
I'm kidding.
Oh, goodness.
He should be serving pate and
caviar.
Caviar.
He's got that big boat. I think he's got that big boat still, although he was trying to unload it at some point. Yeah,
But in Fairley's case, I get it why they didn't do it, and like I said, at this point, it looks like it is the right move.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm them, if I'm Detroit, I would entertain offers for him. I got a feeling that if he goes to the right defense coordinator, he'll play fine because the talent's there. I mean, there's no doubt the talent's there. I think it's just motivation. It may be the scenery. Maybe he just doesn't like he don't like the culture there. You know, and it just he might need to go elsewhere and just play. You know.
Sonia, who is the defensive line coach there now?
Oh gosh, I want to say it's first time Terrell Austin. That sounds. Yeah, I think it's him.
Because it was Jim Washburn, who is one of the best, if not the best, defensive line coach in the league. And, you know, he was actually doing okay under him. Not as good as everybody thought that he could. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. Gwen, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Nick Fairley? I mean, is the reverse psychology thing, I mean, do you think that the Lions made a mistake?
I don't know if it's win-win or lose-lose situation because if he doesn't make an effort and it really is about the money, then who's going to want to deal with him? And he's not going to get any money because nobody's going to want to pay for that because he may be putting half his heart into it. So either buck up and play this season and try to get more money elsewhere so you can buy your own ride next year, or you're just going to fall to the wayside this year and just nobody's going to care because all they can see is that you care about the money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But, I mean, he might turn around in another team, go a 1-year contract, play like gangbusters. You know what I mean? Play up.
You know, I hope he does. I hope that he does.
Right, and you know, and actually serve him well and actually do fine. But you know, I mean, it could be a case to he just doesn't buy the coach. It could be a lot of it could be a lot more psychological things because we know the talent's there. We know the dude can be an absolute beast.
You know what? It could be that he just doesn't love football, and you know, you run across that.
Well, if he didn't, I promise you, if he didn't love football, he'd be on the injury list right about now because he got hurt. He would have got hurt real quick.
True, that is true. Maybe he just doesn't like the cold weather.
I can guarantee you, most of the players who end up, and not all players, but a lot of the guys who don't love football or kind of come in there half-heartedly will be hurt really quick, and you won't see nothing of them. So I promise. So if that was the case, that would be it. I think it does come down to the money for him. You know, and I just think it's just he felt like
mad? You think he's mad that he didn't get paid and he's kind of making them pay? Because that's just shooting himself in the foot. That's all.
It is.
Well, in his mind, he probably thinks so, but he probably also thinks, you know what, trade deadline coming up. You know, I mean, you got a couple months. If I come in, even if I don't play halfway decent, some team or the lineman may go down or something like that. They may be willing to trade for me with the right team. That'll go there and that might actually, you know, extend that contract, or at least if anything, it might be a different philosophy. You know, so because you could put certain defense coordinators, a Romeo Crennel, you know, a Rex Ryan, some of these guys right here. He'd probably play a lot more for them because he just they're defensive guys. He understands them. He knows who they are. You know, he trusts them. And he maybe not trust. He probably doesn't trust the defense.
Well, you know what? You raise a fair point, and Nick Fairley is an inside guy and all of that. But you know what? The Cardinals just lost one of their defensive linemen in Darnell Dockett.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I think that's a great point, Greg. You know, could there be that possibility there?
Yeah, because if you think about it like this, at this point, for them, for the production they're getting out, they're not getting out of Fairley. To get a 4th or 5th round pick for the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And get get it.
Cut your losses.
You know, cut your losses, take it because you can bet the house. You can bet the house when this year is over with. You're not getting him. You won't. He is going elsewhere, so you're not going to get anything anyway. So at that point in time, at this point, I'd be putting him on the block. And just go ahead and consider getting that extra 5th round pick or 6th round pick out for somebody from him, and then let them deal with it from there. Because at least you got something out of it at that point.
Exactly. And that probably would have been one of the smarter moves that the Lions could actually make, because I could see possibly doing that, and maybe even if they're in a playoff push at that point at trade deadline time, and they got to get rid of Let's go.
Yeah.
And I would have no problem with that.
Well, think about it like this: a lot of other players are going to get cut. I mean, we got like a couple hundred that are about to lose their jobs. That you can come
There's some good players that are going to get cut.
Exactly. Bring in the place fairly, trade fairly, and you don't really lose anything. You might gain because you might get a good, young, hungry player who actually will play very well. So, I mean, you know, to me, like they need to be thinking 4 or 5 moves ahead of time, and they're not. Because other than that, right now, he would have been the minute I would have gotten this out of him at a training camp, I would have already been trying to work on trading him. I'd be on the phone.
I was about to say.
I think we've solved the Dolphins. I think we've solved the Lions' problems. Lions, hey, call us.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's talk with Gwen, Greg. What do you want to talk to Gwen about? I know you wanted to talk some Ravens. I saw your eyes light up when I said C.J. Mosley.
Yeah, apparently you're paying attention to my eyes because
I am. I'm watching you, buddy.
I like
got her eyes on you.
Somebody's watching me.
Apparently so. I like Mosley too. I mean, I can, you know, that was a nice get and a great replacement for Ray. You know what I mean? If he's gonna play that middle linebacker, perfect fit. When they got him, I was like, well, I mean, that's their linebacker for another 10, 15 years. Yeah. I mean, that really is. That's their guy. So I mean, that really helps right there.
I'm so sad. I wanted him so badly on the Titans.
Oh, I would have loved it if New Orleans picked him up. I mean, put him next to Curtis Lofton would have been nice. You know, that would have been very nice. Yeah. But at the same time, I understand why they didn't get him, but that's a great pick. I mean, but overall for the Ravens, I mean, you know, they got a tough division. It's gonna be a dogfight in that division. It's gonna be hard to, you know, with Pittsburgh and all that, you know. I mean, what team do you guys fear the most as far as the Ravens fans? Who do you fear the most out of that bunch? Cincinnati, you know, which, you know, that's.
I think it's got to be Cincinnati.
It's Cleveland, guys. It's Cleveland. Don't lie. It's Cleveland.
Johnny Cleveland's coming to steal your girl, steal your lunch money. He's gonna fire that finger at you, and you're just gonna go down.
The spotlight. It's gonna be nothing about football, but about everything that Johnny Football does.
Yeah.
Not.
Pretty much.
I think the Bengals game is going to be a tough one. We don't have to face the Broncos or the Patriots this year. I think we're doing okay. Huh? Yeah.
No, I said that's very good for you. Yeah, we don't have to face them.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah. No, I was gonna say because there are questions in that division about a lot of those teams. I mean, you think about it with Cincinnati, they just lost both their coordinators.
Yeah.
So there could be a little bit of a chemistry issue there and things like that. You might take them a few weeks to really catch on to that defense or catch on to the offense. So you may see some changes there where they may not be nearly as good. They may take a step back. So it's wide open for a shot for the Ravens to win that division. To me, you know.
Andy Dalton just got
his money.
Got paid a little bit. What do you guys think about his contract? Gwen?
Team friendly. It was team friendly. Simple as that. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
kind of following the trend of the Colin Kaepernick deal in a way.
Yeah. Well, you know what is the teams? What happens is now that the teams have figured out how to take these guys who are on the edge of elite or who got that potential to be elite but not there, but still pay them like an elite quarterback without paying them like an elite quarterback. You know what I mean? Because everybody looking at the $126 million, $120 million, $115 million contract, and they're saying, well, you know, that's not worth a Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or, you know, or Tom Brady or somebody like that. But these guys are getting all this money. In all reality, they're not. You know what I mean? If you really look at the contract is a ton less, you know, than what it is. And then number two, they can hang on to the guy for 2-3 years and let him go, and it's not hurting the team doing it. So I mean,
yeah, but you know, the flip side of that is these guys get to go out and get another contract too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah. So I mean, it's really not a bad gig for either side when you sit back and look at it. I think the Bengals have to be the team, you know, at least right now, the team to beat in that division. But I definitely think that the Ravens are going to be much better this year, and it would not surprise me if they did not pick right back up where they left off. You know, that Super Bowl curse is real, you guys. Very hard to replicate it.
It is.
And but I think that the Ravens, I like what they did in the offseason. If their secondary gets healthy, and you know, if you see Joe Flacco return to being, you know, the kind of quarterback that you know that he can be. He's shown that he can be, you know, a good quarterback in the league. They're going to be fine.
I definitely see that division going between the Ravens and Cincinnati. And, you know, Cincinnati's got that nice high-powered offense, and their defense is actually coming along very, very nicely. And, you know, I kind of equate Andy Dalton and Matt Stafford. Like, they're kind of on the same level to me. And so, I mean, they both have that next step to take. You know what I'm saying? I think Matt Stafford's is a little bit bigger to take because he actually has to get in the playoffs. But, you know, at least Andy Dalton has gotten there. And, you know. And
you can't deny that he had a lot of help from his defense to get there.
Exactly. And he did.
But, I mean, Detroit is going to do that too, you know. Because they got a heck of a division to fight with, too, because, you know, you got a very talented offensive Detroit team. I mean, Chicago team.
Yeah.
The defense is stacked. You got Minnesota, have no earthly idea what the heck's going to come out of there. I mean, I think everybody's keep raving about Matt Castle. I'm sorry.
I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to end up being the starter by at least week 3 or 4, and
because once Castle starts throwing 2 or 3 picks,
and I like Matt Castle, but I just think that the temptation's always there to play the young guy. Yeah.
Oh, agreed. And that, I mean, with that team, it's still a fairly young team when you got guys like Cordero Patterson and some of the others. You know, I mean, everybody just keeps saying that Castle. This looks like he's going to win the job, but I'm like, I don't see how.
I was about to say probably not for long. Probably not for long.
Yeah, a lot of young quarterbacks. I mean, look at Blake Bortles down in Jacksonville, and I said. Greg probably remembers me saying, I don't know if I said it on the show that we were on, but I've been talking about this for weeks. And I said right after the draft that the temptation was going to be strong to start Blake Bortles. And I knew that they would get into training camp and they'd be like, Chad Henne, Blake Bortles, Chad Henne, Blake Bortles, you know, and it would be that kind of, look at this guy, and it sounds like he's really made a lot of strides. I think we're going to see a lot of young quarterbacks come in.
I'm going to agree with that.
That team's a little bit on the rise there. I mean, the Jaguars, they're definitely going to be a lot tougher to play. They're not going to be easy to beat. You know, and I saw, especially what I saw them a couple weeks ago there. They got a little, you know, they're coming along. They're definitely coming along. It's a matter of, I think they're going to keep Henne out there. At least for a few weeks.
I think they want to really badly to do that, but I just wonder if they're going to be able to stick to it.
I don't think they're going to stick to their whole plan of it.
They got that new boo. They're looking at that new boo. They're like, we see you, boo.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not gonna happen long. You're right. You're definitely not at all.
That was my semi-clever way of taking us to the AFC South, where Greg and I can talk just a little bit about the game Friday night. The New Orleans Saints played the Tennessee Titans Saturday night. Wait, Friday night. I'm so confused. This week they played Saturday night. Yeah, because we did a pregame show, right? Yeah. It was very much fun. And the one thing that I have to say, though, Greg, the one thing that we did not predict, although we sort of semi-talked about it, all the laundry on the field.
Yes.
The Saints were penalized for like 184 yards. And I know Sean Payton was very unhappy about that. And I said in my recap, of that game. How in the world can a team give up 184 penalty yards and still win the football game? Well, it's because the Titans turned the ball over 5 times.
Yeah, but that was all. The refs have been doing this the whole preseason.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch every game in the preseason, it's in double-digit penalties. Absolutely ridiculous. So, and basically all it is a power play by the referees. It's a teaching moment for teams because they're looking for certain things. They're looking for the players who are doing the hand fighting between the wide receiver and the defensive back. They're basically trying to start with. Because Seattle,
give me a break. Who cares?
I agree. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it.
Play the game. Let them play the game.
Let them play. I sat and watched football over the weekend, our game and some other games, and I'm not going to say which game it was, but I saw guys out there leading with their heads, spearing other players in the back, no flags. Helmet to helmet contact, a lot of things that are way more troublesome, or should be way more troublesome for the NFL than a little bit of bumping grind between a wide receiver and a defensive back.
But I grant you that you're right. But think about it. Even in the Titans-Saints game, what were they mostly calling? Defensive holding,
or illegal
they were also
contact.
calling an offensive lineman when they put the hand to the face when they're trying to block the defensive lineman. They're looking at those things. They're actually right now trying to regulate that.
Our rookie offensive tackle had a face mask. It was a legitimate call.
Yeah, understandable. But I'm saying that they are looking at those. They're definitely looking for them. So they may be missing a little bit of the spears and the head-to-head contact.
But they can't tell me that okey doke that they're about safety, and this is all about safety when what they're looking at is this ticky-tacky, give me a break stuff, and they're leaving the stuff that's legitimately of concern uncalled.
But yeah, let's be real about the whole safety thing. You got 300 pounds, 6'5", 6'6", 300 pound men running into each other at high rates of speed. Where at one point is anybody going to be safe from that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, right.
Some damage is going to get caused. If it ain't now, it's going to be 20 years from now. You're going to feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Gwen brought up the ALS challenge. I'm going to talk a little bit about that toward the end of the show because some sad news came out today about a former Tennessee Titans player. But yeah, Gwen, how were the Ravens game? What have they been very heavily flagged as well? I know Jimmy Smith talked a little bit about it before he got hurt.
Yeah, it is a lot of just hands in on the defensive backs. I mean, there was a few hands to the face but not on us.
Yep.
That's a lot of just the defensive back. It was just
that's what they're looking for.
An interference, and I think there was like a late tackle on Joe Flacco, which even our announcers were like, "What? This is the end of like what?" I mean, it works in our favor, but really? So it really didn't make any sense. And it is. It's becoming like a flag football.
Yeah, it really is. And I said right when they first started talking about doing this and he first started seeing that they were doing this, I said, you just go ahead and put a skirt on them. I mean, you put a skirt on the quarterbacks. You might as well put a skirt on the wide receivers, too. Although I have noticed that they do seem to be a little bit more cognizant of the offensive, the wide receivers doing it, too. We've seen, I can't remember who it was, but we saw an offensive pass. It was clearly offensive pass interference. Was it Jimmy Graham? Who was it that pushed off?
It might have been. It could. I mean, because receivers definitely take some times where they'll do the little push-off thing themselves. You know, like I said,
they're looking at that too.
Well, yeah, the refs. I mean, like I said, the refs are trying to, because they saw what Seattle did last year, and let's be honest, Seattle practically would mug your receivers.
The Legion of Boom.
That's right. They will.
Yeah, and they would absolutely mug your receivers and got away with it. And I'm not hating on it. You can do it.
Well,
I mean,
they came out and said that they followed the thought process that the NFL wasn't going to flag every single play. Right. And I think that this is really in retaliation for that. They're like, oh, really? Well, just sit back and watch us.
Exactly. And so now they're coming back
and play. It hits 30 penalties on one team in a game. Yeah. 22 accepted. So that's what happens. So they're going to do that, and at this point, they're just doing it for the preseason. I don't think you're going to see that nearly as much. I think the players will get to play a little more, especially when they get later in the season to the playoffs. I don't think the refs going to make those calls nearly as much. I don't think they're going to be able to because of time constraints. These games are going way too. I mean, they're going long, and with the way the NFL schedules, they're just not going to be able to do it. And I'm sick of seeing a stripe sitting there making an announcement on the football field. If you can't see, you know what I mean? You don't want us to be seeing a referee sitting there making a penalty call in the football field more often than you seeing somebody throwing the ball or running it. Yeah.
That is true.
And it's true for the fans in the stand. They didn't pay to see the officiating. No, they didn't pay to see these officials make the game about them.
No. Well, you think about it like this. Okay, the Saints had 29 penalties called on them. The Titans probably had it close to the same thing, right? Yeah. So you think about it.
I think they were penalized. They were penalized less, considerably less. But then again, they turned the ball over 5 times.
Okay, so let's say
Brown is not letting them forget that they turned the ball over 5 times.
It's ridiculous.
Right? So that's a total. All right, but let's say that's a total of 45, 50 penalties in that game, right? Yeah. The average team with an average offense in a football game probably runs about 60, 70 plays. So you saw the referee just as much as you saw the offense run a play. Yeah. When you look at it,
and I have to admit, I have not seen a preseason game. I haven't seen a preseason game with guns, and guns are going to go like 10 hours if they're calling these flags.
He turtle waxing them guns right about now. He getting ready for the regular season.
Oh my gosh. He's getting ready.
Welcome to the gun show, baby.
You know what I'm talking about. I mean, he can't give a 1 or 2 sentence explanation. It's a dissertation.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's nothing but love, baby. We love you, baby. Mwah, mwah.
Well, she does. No.
All right. Okay, well, let's talk just a little bit more about the game. Jimmy Graham was flagged. He did not like the Jimmy Graham rule and very promptly let everybody know that he was going to do it. Did it twice. Sean Payton wasn't happy about it either, and I don't think we're going to see young Jimmy Graham do that anymore.
Yeah, but the whole thing was an overreaction. Even all the articles about him being immature and not doing or thinking about himself because he did that. For one, it's a preseason game. Yeah. If he did that in a regular season game twice, I warned him getting toasted for it and everybody getting on his case. But it's a preseason game. One, you don't. It just doesn't matter like that. I mean, that ain't not even the point.
I just want to say I freaking hate that rule. I hate it. It's stupid. The league is becoming the no fun league. Gwen, what do you think about that? I mean, was there really a need to take that out of the game?
No. I mean, it's extensive and it goes forever.
I like the celebrations, don't you? I think it's fun.
That's how it makes it. That's what people sit behind the goalpost for.
Right?
Yeah. So they can
tell you to sit behind the goalpost where you can't say anything. So.
$33,000 penalties too. Fines.
But that's just, I mean, it's an emotional sport. You want to celebrate, that emotion at the time, especially if it's like, a big touchdown, you want to celebrate. And I don't think it's that big a deal. He's not hurting anybody. I mean, maybe the goalpost.
It stemmed from the Atlanta game. That's all it was, because in the Atlanta game,
That one game, one time, one game, and
one time.
typical NFL overreaction.
Yeah, if they're doing it with their own team.
I wonder if he can jump shoot it or hook shot it. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't dunk. He just run over and just throw a hook shot over into the goal. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like nice little fadeaway.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. You know.
Gwen, what did you want to say?
I said if it's a celebration with your own team, then that's whatever it is. But like, it's not like people are really taunting the guy that he just beat for that touchdown.
No.
It's just let it go. I thought Torrey might have gotten in trouble when he scored his touchdown the other night.
Yeah.
He turned around to whatever Ravens fans were there and threw the ball into the stands to them. I was like, oh, come on, Torrey, you're a nice guy. You know,
Yeah.
let's not start it. But you know,
I'll charge you for the ball on that one. That's all they do.
Yeah. There's something in my brain that I was going to say, and I've completely forgotten about. Oh, I know. I you know what it was. I know what it was now. I was going to say Sonia might want to be particularly cognizant of that whole little taunting thing, given Golden Tate being
I was about to say his little history of taunting. But, you know, hey, if it happens, it happens. If it happens, you know, at appropriate times, whatever, I'm totally okay with it because, once again, it's an emotional game. This is going to happen. You expect it. Whatevs. Who cares? But I think if it gets to the point of excessive, at least with Golden Tate, and, you know, the team is not performing or something like that, then the fans are really going to get a little peeved and, you know, there's going to be a lot of frustration. But if things are going well and he does it, who cares? Whatever. Bring it on. I love trash talk. I love it. It's just fun. It's part of the game. It is part of the game. And, you know, like, ice up, son. I love it. I like that stuff. It's so cool.
and Sonia and I have to once again reiterate what we said last week. Our plea and our request for Big Joe Faria to just one time after he scores a touchdown in the end zone, obviously. In a game, in a regular season game this year, Big Joe, we want you to twerk for us. Just one time, baby.
One time.
Just twerk one time. Just one.
I'm not watching.
Well, you know, he's known for his celebration dances. He's known for his touchdown dances, and I want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure it's at the Saints game.
Terrible. That dude did not dance.
Did you see the video where the offensive linemen were doing the twerking? Number 67 was into it, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the coaches, like a couple of the coaches were in there too.
Yeah, I know, right?
Look at them.
They were doing it too. I love that stuff. That's fun.
Extend the ruling to the kickers too, because we had Justin Tucker when he made a kick last year.
I love him.
He did the Terrio.
Yeah, I love him. He's great. Yeah, he's great.
To the kickers too, because we got a goofy one.
Yeah, no, we love him. He's fantastic. I love him so much. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's coming up, and then we'll talk about this rule. And it always goes by fast. We've got about 15 minutes. So, Greg, who do the Saints face this weekend?
They face the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. Did you see the Bleacher Report writer predict the Colts to win that one? I was kind of scratching my head about that.
That's fine. He can predict all he wants. He can predict that.
Ain't always right.
Well, we love you so much, Greg.
If he wants to be listed in the wrong column, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's preseason, right? And is Drew Brees going to play this weekend?
Yeah, he'll play at least a half, 40-0 on him. Then he might.
I gotta say, you're right, Greg. Ryan Griffin looks pretty good.
Right?
We were talking about him, Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, told you. He can go.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he can go. I like what I see out of him. That's why I see that it's fine with cutting Luke McGowan.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be. I mean, I could see that definitely happening. Brandon Cooks is everything people thought, and he's going to be a sensation in the league. I think we might. Greg, did we lose you?
I think we. I was about to say he froze up because that was.
I think you froze up a little bit, buddy. We're gonna get while you get unfrozen. We're gonna get Gwen in to tell us a little bit about what the Ravens are doing this weekend. Gwen, who do the Ravens face?
Playing the Redskins, so it's the battle of the Beltway.
Yeah.
Even with preseason. I guess nobody really worries too much except for RG3. I like RG3.
I do too.
I do too.
He still scares me, and of course, Cody Nada that ruined his knee the first time.
Yes.
We'll see if it happens again. So I want him to be healthy. I want it to be a decent game. I don't want it.
He was scaring me last night, though. He really was.
I remember you were. I didn't get to watch it last night. But yeah, I would like to see him healthy, and I would like to see. I think we'll probably see less of Joe Flacco and more Tyrod, and I'm not sure about this Keith Wenning guy. He's not really making much of an impact.
Okay.
Tyrod's kind of an exciting player himself.
He really is.
He really is.
Do you feel comfortable? I mean, I think he's a good backup, and you would feel comfortable with him, do you?
I think he looks more comfortable this year than he ever has. Maybe a lot with the offense.
Good.
It was a cluster last year when he would put Tyrod in. Especially towards the end of the season. There
was a lot going on there. The running game wasn't doing too well. The offensive line was really struggling.
Yeah, so I think we have a lot more protection this year. He still makes me a little bit nervous about running, but he will slide. Like RG3.
RG3, baby, learn to slide, please, honey.
Yes.
Because that's a lot.
You give me a heart attack every time.
Right.
He does. He does. Can the Nationals pick him up real quick and just, give him a tutorial?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, though, they should bring some baseball players into
camps
and
teach these guys how to
step but into practice. Yeah.
Yes.
They should.
I've always thought that. Deep down inside, I'm like, why don't they just have people come in and help them learn how to slide? Yeah. It's easy. But anyways.
Well, Kirk Cousins looked pretty good last night. So, if you're a Washington fan, then you feel pretty secure that hopefully RG3 will stay healthy. Fingers crossed. Say a little prayer for you, RG3. But Kirk Cousins is looking like I wasn't buying all the Kirk Cousins love at first, but he does look pretty good. Looked good last night. Oh, we've got some little angels joining us.
Yes, we got a little angel. Say hi, Jill.
Hi, baby.
All right, sweetie.
Say hi for joining us again. Bye.
Say you're welcome. Mwah. All right, head downstairs to bed, guys. I'll be there to second.
Minecraft.
I know.
She is so adorable. I just want to eat her up. She's so sweet and cute. All right, Sonia, who do the Lions face this weekend?
So this weekend we've got the Jaguars and Mr. Blake Bortles coming up, or Chad Henne. Who knows? But I think that'll be kind of fun just to watch, just to be able to see the great Blake Bortles. But then also just to see our first team offense get out there and give it a go and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, so Calvin being back is huge.
Yes, Calvin being back is very, very huge. That's what the fans have been waiting for. And I've been totally okay with, him not playing these first couple games because it's not like his roster spot is in jeopardy at all or anything like that. So it's been okay just to let him sit and kind of heal up from whatever was going on at the end of last season. So that'll be kind of fun to look at. I think this is kind of like their dress rehearsal where they want the guys out there for like three quarters at least, I think. But I hope it's not going to go that long. But still, it's going to be fun just to kind of watch and see how game ready they're going to be.
Yeah, the Jags defense should be a lot better this year, and I'm kind of curious to see how they do against the Lions offense and Calvin Johnson. So that should be a good game to watch, I think.
I think so, and I'm like Greg. I really do think that the Jacksonville's defense is improved and is going to be improved this year. So I think they're not going to be just a pushover.
They should be a much better team this year. I really do think that. Okay, so we have, for the Titans, will be facing the Atlanta Falcons this weekend, a team that they practiced against and that they've practiced against before in 2002, I believe it was. To me, two teams that are kind of similar in a way. Neither one have looked all that good in the preseason. The Titans won their first preseason game in a monsoon against the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers wasn't playing. Eddie Lacy didn't play. It was kind of a really not. It's not a game that you were like, oh yeah, we beat the Packers. It was like, oh, well, okay, we actually did win that game. But and the Falcons, and I said this during the off season, I do think that the Falcons should be better. I just am not sure that they're going to be. They still have all kinds of offensive line problems. They did just announce that rookie Jake Matthews is going to play left tackle, which is his natural position. Obviously, the son of former Houston Oilers and Tennessee Titans great Bruce Matthews. Long line of a big football pedigree there. Clay Matthews and a lot of other names that I could mention. So they've made some changes. Julio Jones is back. Roddy White, still Roddy White. Matty Ice. We'll have to see if he can rebound. It wasn't all his fault last year. The offensive line was pretty bad, but it's going to be a real test, I think, for the Tennessee Titans, because even though the Atlanta Falcons are struggling, Julio Jones and Roddy White are, and Harry Douglas, and they've got a lot of other, Steven Jackson, they've got a lot of other good offensive players, and the Titans secondary has struggled, really struggled against the New Orleans Saints, and they've got a couple of young defensive backs who are battling to take that right cornerback spot. I'm not sure that the Titans are going to be too married to this guy's going to play left, this guy's going to play right, this guy's going to play slot. I think they're going to be matchup oriented, because what we saw in training camp where they were lining, like Jason McCourty was playing cover. He was a cover cornerback. He was on whatever the best wide receiver on the field. He was on that wide receiver, shadowing that wide receiver. We saw them interchange Cody Sensabaugh and Blitty Ray Wilson. So I think that we're going to continue to see some of that. I don't know that they're going to be like, oh, this guy's going to, dividing up the field and doing that zone kind of coverage. I think that we're going to see these guys roam a little bit more than what we've seen. I'm excited about that. I'm really excited and sort of trepidatious to see how they do against those offensive weapons. So going to be interesting to see. All right, real quick, let's talk about this new rule change. I like it. The NFL announced today, I'll read it out here, that they are increasing the amount of players that a team can have on their practice squads. They can now, it's been increased from 8 to 10. And they've also changed the criteria, the eligibility rules. The first thing, a player must have a minimum of 6 games on a practice squad. That's increased from the previous 3 games for that year to count as one of 3 permissible seasons on the squad. And each team now can sign a maximum of 2 practice squad players who have earned no more than 2 NFL seasons toward free agency. Aside from that exception, a player with 1 or more accrued seasons can't go on a practice squad unless he spent fewer than 9 games on a club's 46-player active list in each of his pro seasons. And that's the same. That last little bit, that's not a change. That's the way that it has been and was. So I like it. What do you ladies think? Gwen?
I like that. I'm still a little salty about losing Bobby Rainey, so that would have helped us last year.
Yeah.
Because, I think they were looking to hide him on the practice squad, and I don't think there was any room, and that's why we lost him. So I like it with the injuries and just the people that kind of crap out during the season. I like because these guys that are going undrafted that we pick up, I mean, we had Marlon Brown and like these guys come up from out of nowhere, and I like it that it gives them these opportunities, and they're not so tied on and having so many rules and playing this game and free agency and all this other.
Yeah, Sonia, what do you think about it?
Oh, I like those rules. I like the new additions, having 2 more people, because that's what 64 more people get jobs. So that's always good.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what I would like to
jobs.
see. I bet you ladies will agree with me. What I would like to see is the NFL expand the number of active players that you can have on game day. I think that the limitations are archaic. I don't think that there's any reason for them anymore, that they should. I don't even know that they should have a limitation. Maybe, because with the way injuries go and everything, why have those limitations anymore? And if you're going to have limitations, maybe just 3 players. Increase it to 50 as opposed to, what is it now, 46, 45, 46, something like that. I don't like the limitations on game day. Why not just be able to dress who you want to dress? Gwen, what do you think about that?
I say dress who you want to dress, because you never know.
You don't.
In the game, your quarterback take his knee out. I mean, anything.
It's a violent game. You're never going to be able to take all the violence out of it. You're just not. And I don't think that there's any reason anymore to have those game day limitations. I think that it's time. You need to do that, NFL. Call us.
Call us, NFL.
All right, it looks like Greg's having some. We always have these great ideas. Okay, just real quick, it looks like Greg's having some difficulty. We'll give him a shout out before we get out of here. Before I do my ALS thing, Sonia and I are very excited to announce some major changes coming up for the Blitz. The first major change that we are going to do is, as some of you know, most of you know, most of our regular audience watchers know, we started out when we first started a webcast. We had 3 people, we had 3 ladies on the show, and at some point we dropped down to 2, but we are going to add an additional lady to our show. So yes, I'm very excited about that. Although I love my girl Sonia, but the more the merrier. And I think having 3 is going to be so much fun. So we're looking to do that. Then the second thing is we're going to redo our show. We're going to divide it up into segments. We're going to go to a 2 guest instead of having one big show where, because sometimes it's hard, guests want to come on, they can do 30 minutes, an hour can sometimes be a little bit hard, sometimes hard to manage when you have family and that stuff. So we're going to start having 2 segments, and with our special guests coming on to talk about whatever they want to talk about, fantasy football or what have you. And then we are going to add a third and final segment. Some of you may remember that we used to do a third segment that we've kind of gotten away from. I'm really glad that we did that. But Sonia and I are going to, in our third person, we're going to add a third segment where we're not going to tell each other. We're going to pick a topic that we want to talk about, something that's pertinent and hot and being talked about a lot, and we're gonna discuss that in the final 15 minutes of the show. And Sonia, what did we decide that we were going to call that?
We're going to call it that's going to be our goal line stance.
Goal line stance. That's what we're going to call that, goal line stance. And so really, really looking forward to that, looking forward to revamping. And as you can tell if you've been watching the show, I am in a new locale, and Sonia has a new computer. And I got to tell you, Gwen, I'm looking at you back there, and you've got those fancy curtains, and you look good. You know, we might want to be talking to you about coming on to, you know, maybe you want to do a couple of shows and see if you might want to join us. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that after the show. But we want to thank everybody for joining us. Before we get out of here, though, I have to, this is near and dear to my heart, I have to give a big shout out to former Titans linebacker Tim Shaw. I hope I don't get choked up here. It was just announced today, this afternoon, this evening before the show, that Tim has ALS. And he is only 30 years old. He is very, very young to have this terrible disease. And with the ALS challenge that's going on, if you can at all donate or do something to combat this very terrible disease, please do so. And Tim, you are definitely in our thoughts and prayers. So, all right. So, Sonia, I'm going to throw it over to you to lead us out, and then I will take us out.
Okay. Well, thank you to our guest, Greg, even though you had some technical difficulties.
Poor Greg.
I know. Hi, Greg. We had a great time bringing you on the show. So much fun. So thanks so much. Gwen, as always, thank you for joining us. I really
Gwen is so great. I love her so much.
I know. She's so sweet. I'm Sonia. You can find me writing for the Detroit Lions at NFLfemale.com. You can also find me writing on A Good Sports Hang. I'm a contributor to them. And, you know, I talk any sports there, but now since the football season is coming around, it's more so football. Yep, I just did a random musings on mock drafts, so enjoy that one. And yeah, you can always find me on Twitter at mom2 3RN. Gwen, tell us about you, where we can find you.
I'm Gwen. I'm the Baltimore Ravens reporter on NFLfemale.com. You can find me on Twitter at Gwen2475 at Twitter. On Google Plus, and I'll be here. I don't know.
Excellent.
And I'm curious, Sonia, I don't know how you do all these things when you have like 3 kids and you work and you have.
I know, right? She's amazing.
Kristen, like I don't really understand how they do it.
She is. We just make it happen.
Amazing.
Thanks,
it's amazing.
Guys.
I am Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. I am the official Titans fan reporter for NFL Female. I also write for the National Gridiron Network and host a show for them called The Extra Point every Friday night. That is the show that Greg and I were talking about. And you can find me writing at Pro Player Insiders. And I'm leaving. Oh, you can also find me every Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, on 7:30 Yahoo Sports. Is everybody hearing that? Where's that coming from?
No, what?
Anything.
I don't hear anything.
That was crazy. It was like they were playing music for me. Anyway, 7:30 Yahoo Sports, Game Over with Vasti and Sharona. So it wouldn't be the Zone Blitz, Sonia, without something crazy happening.
Of course not.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Big shout out to Liz, our hero and guru at NFL Female. Without you, none of this would be possible. And have a very pleasant Tuesday evening, and we will see you next week. Zone Blitz. Be there.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Good night.